Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Sunday afternoon chat on yet another 100-degree plus day here in southern Oklahoma. That's right, 102 degrees right now, and it's not as hot as it's going to be. We're still probably a couple, 2 or 3 hours away from the maximum of the day, but so we'll probably get another day or 2 degree higher. We've had a lot of rain here in Oklahoma the last couple of days. A lot of rain. A lot of Oklahoma was very well blessed with a lot of rain. My preacher told me this morning that we did not get two drops in a wheelbarrow. 2 drops in a wheelbarrow. That's not much rain. A wheelbarrow is a pretty good sized rain gauge. 2 drops is not much. We didn't get that much here at the Eagle. We didn't even get 1 drop, let alone 2 drops. But and we do have no rain forecast out until I looked on the long range forecast August 20. We have no rain forecast. So we may hit one of those months like we did last year 4 times where we go an entire month without any rain. I just don't believe that's going to happen. I think we are going to get some rain. If we get a little more rain, I think we get another hay cutting here later this month or early next month and get some rain on it and get that stuff green back up again, and it'll be good. This past week was a difficult week for us. It was a great week as well. The great thing that happened was we got to go down to First Baptist Church, Conroe, Chris and I, and actually we took Benelli with us, and she wasn't too bad. She wasn't great, but she got excited with all of the people down there. And but she really didn't cause any problems whatsoever. But she's laying right here beside me right now, like she always is. She's going to be a very good companion. And she just loves to retrieve. Golly, I've never seen a dog love to retrieve like Benelli does. And she comes to me all the time with something in her mouth. Please, let's retrieve, Bones. Please, let's retrieve. But anyway. We had a great time down there. Fantastic church. Jimmy Durham is the one that I've worked with down there on that. It's the second time I've been to the Outdoors and Sportsman's Banquet at First Baptist Conroe. It's a beautiful church, incredibly great church right in the middle of town. And Conroe is, of course, a small town in Texas. It's close to a big town, Houston, Texas. But Lake Conroe is there. It's right close to Lake Livingston, right close to Lake Sam Rayburn. I mean, it's in a great area for the outdoors. And we had a full packed house, well over 500 people there, and just a great evening. Lots of door prizes, raffles went well. I did not get a chance to buy any raffle tickets when I got there. We went directly to signing Catch a Better Life books, and then we went from there to right up on stage speaking, and we got through with that. We did spend a lot of time with the people. So many of you come and visited, Sheila and Emma, and so many of you came and visited. That from our social media, and I certainly appreciate that, girls and guys, and so many of you, so many men come up and talked about watching the deer and enjoying that, and the deer being kind of good therapy for them. And can I tell you, the deer are good therapy for me as well. And we get right before dark. I'm going to try to shoot a little video with the deer. So I was asked to do a little video feeding the deer and whispering. Now, I don't know. I've never done a video whispering. I learned to talk in a sawmill. I learned to whisper in a sawmill, so you can know how loud a sawmill is. So I talk pretty loud, but I'll feed the deer and I'll whisper with them and see how they react. We do have some surprises, a real neat surprise that I'm going to show you with the deer. That was another one of the great things that happened this week. Totally shocking, just to be honest with you, but we had a great time down there, and that was kind of the highlight of this week. The days have been all over 100, and I think the lowest high we had last week was about 104, and 2 or 3 of those days was 108 degrees. Like I said, it's over 100 degrees now. We got a couple of more of those days, and then it's still the next, I think there's like 5 days in a row scheduled or forecast over 100 degrees here in southern Oklahoma, and then it's going to drop down in the upper 90s. So we're actually going to go further south here sometime pretty quickly. I'm meeting Roland Martin down at Delacroix in Port Sulphur, Louisiana, and we're going to do some filming down there, fish a couple days for redfish and largemouth bass and whatever else we can catch. I'll take anything that bites. But we're looking forward to that, and it's been blazing hot down there as well. But I looked at forecast, and the forecast is like 92 or 93. Now, the humidity is high down there, so it's going to be pretty hot. We'll probably do a lot of fishing right at daylight, get out there on the water just as soon as we can see to run our boats and fish until maybe the mid part of the day and go in and take a little short nap or cool off on the air conditioning and go back out in the evening. I'm not sure exactly what we'll do, but we got about 2.5 days to fish there. And we're going to go down to one of my favorite places, Gros Savon, which is down in Lake Charles, Louisiana, and fish down there for a couple of days. Again, they've been having tremendously hot weather. I think the heat index down there one day last week was 118. 118. So that's the good things that happened this past week, and I will, when I do a little video this evening right before dark, and feed the deer some and do the whispering, feeding the deer and whisper and not talk, but just whisper. So that's going to be kind of cool. I don't know why I was asked to do that, but maybe this lady likes for men to whisper to her. I don't know, but I'm going to whisper to the deer. They might like it too. They might like it too. Split ears really showed off this week, guys. I just got to tell you, split ear really showed off. Well, you see that video come Wednesday and Thursday. But anyway, that's the good part of the week. The bad part was I lost a great friend, a great person, a great Oklahoman, my buddy Boyd Walker. And you've seen Boyd Walker on Jimmy Houston Outdoors. You know, we've been doing Jimmy Houston Outdoors for 46 years now, and we've got about 20 shows shot for next year, 2024, which I think will be 47 years on national television. But we did the last shows we did with Boyd Walker was a couple years ago. Boyd was an Oklahoma Highway Patrolman and a trooper for a long time. He was retired, and Boyd. I carried Boyd fishing up on the St. Lawrence River in New York with me. My buddy O.T. Fears went, and Jeff Shaw, my buddy that was the president of O'Reilly Auto Parts, and he's since retired, fishing way more than I am right now. I'm just tickled to death for him. He does love to fish, and he's getting to enjoy all of those 100-hour weeks he put in for pretty much all of his life. And but Boyd Walker went with us on that trip, and he said it was the best fishing trip he had been on. And I've carried Boyd with me to Mexico and various places around. He's fished here on the ranch several times, which is pretty good fishing. But he said that trip was the best. We had 3 boats up there. I took a couple of my boats, and Roland Martin had a boat there also. And Mike Iaconelli come up and visited, fished with Roland and I. That was a real treat, a lot of fun. Mike, it was a big deal for Mike too. And so we all had a great time in that trip, and Boyd just loved the trip. He had a great time. He talked about it, but it wasn't too long after that. That trip was in May or June, either late May or early June. I don't remember which. And we did a couple of television shows with Boyd, and he just smacked them, just caught the snot out of them on a red man spinnerbait and some on a Lucky Strike sinking worm. And we caught a lot on that as well up there. But Boyd called me one day in August when I was fishing with my buddy Stacy King on Table Rock Lake, and we caught about 50 fish that day, 50 bass out of Table Rock, and we were live scoping the fish out over some structure type areas in the middle of the lake, and I had a really good day. And Boyd called me over there. Actually, we were in a restaurant about the middle of the day, about 1 o'clock, and eating a hamburger on a dock there and he called and was visiting with me, and he said, "Jimmy, I want to let you know that I've got cancer." And that was in August 2020, so that would have been a little bit over 3 years ago. And Boyd fought that cancer, and he put up a great fight. He beat the cancer totally, was in total remission, and it came back, and it finally took him on to glory. But that's sad, and we cry, and it's a big loss for his beautiful wife, Paula, and 43 years. They've been married 43 years. And great story about them getting together. And Boyd was not actually a state trooper. State troopers look pretty fantastic in their uniforms. I can guarantee you, I can see why the women swoon over the state troopers. That's how Daniel Arms built a great YouTube channel. My buddy Daniel Arms Family Homestead. If you're not subscribed to that, go over and subscribe to that channel. It's a great channel. And his little boy Houston and DJ, his wife, they just have a great channel. But Daniel is a retired Oklahoma State trooper now, but he looked pretty smashing in his trooper uniform too. And we had a lot of troopers there at the funeral yesterday morning. I spoke at that funeral and got to say a few things about my buddy Boyd, but he was a good, honest man. He was so nice. I doubt that he hardly ever wrote anybody a ticket. Somebody told me, they said, "I never heard of anybody around here getting a ticket from Boyd." I got to tell you one quick story though, where he did stop my truck. I wasn't driving. My son Jamie was driving. I got food poisoning at an event that we had in Oklahoma City the 2 days before that on Saturday morning for the kids that were in the Merle building that was bombed. That Merle building bombing back 20 or 25 years ago, it was a long time ago. And there was a lot of little kids. They had a nursery in there, and a lot of kids that their parents were working in that building were in that building. A lot of kids were killed in that bombing. But for the survivors of that, a buddy of mine, in Oklahoma City put together a fishing event for them every year, and I went to that event several times. It's a great event. But anyway, I'd taken a bite of barbecue ribs, which I love, and got food poisoning. So I was in the truck. Jamie was driving. I was in the back seat, laying down, about to die. Pat was in there. We were pulling my Ranger boat, and I heard Jamie say, "Oh, it's a highway patrolman stopping me," and I heard him say, "I must have a tail light out on my Ranger trailer," or something like that. And so then he said, "Oh, it's Boyd," and it was Boyd Walker, my buddy that we lost this week. And I raised up. Oh, I was so sick. I was so bad. Food poisoning is just terrible, terrible. You want to die. You hope you die or get well, one or the other, just to get me out of this misery. But I raised up and looked back then. Boyd, of course, had his Oklahoma State Trooper highway patrolman uniform on, and he walked up there to the side of the boat, and he raised the lid up in front of the passenger side, which is the ice chest, and which was we had it full of ice and Mountain Dews, Diet Mountain Dews. And he reached in there and got him a cold Mountain Dew, shut the lid back down, fastened it, made a gesture up to Jamie like, "Thank you," and went back, got this patrol car. And I've always thought that would make the perfect Mountain Dew or Pepsi Cola commercial, the perfect commercial. And we don't have a sponsorship with Pepsi or Mountain Dew. I wish I did have one. I don't drink anything but soft drinks. I don't drink any type of alcohol, but I've turned down a few beer sponsors over the years because I just don't drink beer. But yeah, that would just make a wonderful television commercial. That'd just be the greatest commercial in the world, because that really happened. It was a real deal. It wasn't scripted out. Boyd was out there working hard, putting in a good hard day's work for the Oklahoma Highway Patrol, and he knew that I had ice cold Mountain Dews in my boat, because he knew when we left to go on a film trip. We was heading down to Texas. He knew that we had ice chests down in that Ranger boat. Ranger's got extremely good ice chests. They're insulated, so they keep ice really well. And I own a store, and so big ice machines and lots of Mountain Dew, and so we always fill that thing completely up. That way we start off a week's trip with a full supply of soft drinks and water in the boat, and that just is a classic. It's a classic moment. It's a classic moment. And we told a couple other fishing stories about Boyd. Boyd actually caught a fish that was over 15 pounds, one of the largest fish that's ever caught in the state of Texas, in Lake Fork during one of those tournaments down there where they have big bass and they weigh in every hour and stuff. But he didn't know he was entered in the tournament, but he had his wife Paula with him in the boat, and Paula was not entered in the tournament. So when he went in and had the fish weighed, and it was the largest fish, then somebody said, "Well, what about his partner? Are they in the tournament?" And Paula was not in the tournament, and so he was disqualified from the tournament because of that. Wasn't allowed to weigh it in. But it was a huge, giant fish, beautiful fish, and so he went back down took the fish back down to the lake to turn it loose, and it died. And so he actually had the fish mounted and got a great trophy for it. But that fish is way bigger than any bass that I've ever caught. So Boyd was a great fisherman, but a great friend and a great person. The church was packed. The balcony was packed. It's just absolutely, it's hard to lose a friend like that. But can I tell you, when you know that he's fishing the lakes in heaven right now, and I believe that Boyd Walker might be fishing with my dad, might be fishing with Grandma Lizzie, Chris's mama, whom he loved, but he'll be waiting. I know he'll be waiting. I got several friends that's going to be waiting for old Jimmy to show up there someday. And they're going to say, "We know where all the good spots are. We know where all the good spots are." So that's a little bit of a hard week when you lose a friend. But as you grow older, you do that. And as you grow older, you realize that every day you're a little bit closer to that day when you'll walk those streets of gold. I'm going to take my shoes off because I think that gold will be warm on the bottom of my feet. I'll walk those streets of gold. And if Jesus doesn't come back first, which I definitely believe that he may, I'll do that sometime in the next 20 years. I've told you before that God told me I'd live to be 95. So if you hear old Jimmy died and you say, first thing ask, how old was he? And if they say he's 93, say, boy, it comes as a surprise to him. He thought he's going to live to be 95. Can I tell you, I'm going to be like Hezekiah. When I get to 95, I'm going to ask God for another 15 years. That'd push it to 110, wouldn't it? Anyway, that was this past week. We got a great week coming this next week. I'm going to get to go to a little bit cooler weather. It's forecast to be 85, going to Minneapolis. Going to get to fish in Minnetonka with Northern Wholesale. Northern Wholesale is a great company up there in Minnesota that sells wholesale products. They're a big distributor. They sell products to all the boat dealers, all the marine stores, hardware stores, a lot of places around in the area. And I get to fish with a couple of their customers. Will be my partner. We get to fish in a tournament that's daylight up till about 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I'll be emceeing that tournament. If you were fortunate enough to fish that tournament, you've been invited to it by Northern Wholesale up there in Minneapolis. We're going to have a lot of fun. They got great food and prizes. Golly, everybody wins a prize, even the teams that don't catch any fish. And a lot of good fishermen, the Capras and several of the really, really good fishermen in that area up there will be fishing. I'll be fishing out of a borrowed nitro boat. My buddy Jeremy Bester called me yesterday, and I was going to use Jeremy's boat, but then he's gone fishing a tournament or something, and he can't. We're not going to be able to use his boat, but he's got a friend of his boats that we're going to use. It's a nitro, and they've got I think it's got live scope on it. It definitely's got good locators with some GPS marks on there, and probably have a 500 GPS marks on Minnetonka, so probably be just like shooting in the dark. But I've got a plan of attack that we do to make sure that my team always weighs in a good limit of fish, and we've never won that tournament. I MC the tournament weigh in too, so that's a lot of fun. Great meal, great fellowship, great fun. Everybody has a great time. A tremendous event that Northern Wholesale puts on. They're just such a good company and great people. I got a lot of good friends there. And I have emceed that over the years a lot. COVID happened and been a little bit since they've had that, but I'm really, really looking forward to going up there. I fly up there Tuesday, meet with them on a big deal on Tuesday night, a big outside party and hamburgers and hot dogs and stuff. And then we get to fish Wednesday. So I'm looking forward to that this next week. And then the following week, be with Roland Martin down in Texas. So we've got a pretty good August planned. We'll be here at the ranch a tremendous amount of the time as well. And hopefully we'll get some break in this weather and we get rid of all these 100-degree days. Fishing is still good. You can still catch a lot of fish in the summertime. The key is get out there at daylight, fish till 10 or 11 o'clock until you start getting uncomfortably hot. Quit and go back out the last couple hours before dark. Those are the premier times to fish right now anyway. Guys and girls, go out there and have you a great one today. Make sure you are part of the solution, not part of the problem. Make sure you're smiling, happy to everybody. Don't pass on any bad gossip this week. And just make sure that you encourage everybody that you talk to with your talk. Say encouraging things, build up things to them. Talk to them in a positive manner, and your life's going to be rewarded because of it. Guys and girls, remember, I sure do love you.